I never thought I'd be sharing this on camera, but I'm excited to walk you through my lab results. As you already know, I'm on GLP-1 for weight loss. I've lost 34 pounds. Love for you just to spill some of the biggest, and even before you left Reddit, you were investing.
Yes.
And then you started investing in some of the biggest, some massive companies that we know today. If you're finding something that's helping you with your health, or you found something with your health that's you're struggling with, talk about it. Use platforms.
Serena Williams drops a truth bomb. The real reason she stepped in to save Coco Gauff from haters. Welcome back to Chatterbox, guys. Your absolute #1 destination for the hottest, most dramatic, and completely unmissable updates from the intersection of sports, pop culture, and everything in between that keeps us all talking. I'm so glad you're here today, because trust me when I tell you, this one is a big deal. Grab your popcorn, pour yourself a beverage of choice, maybe even sit down, because if you are standing up, what I am about to break down for you might just knock you clean off your feet. Serena Williams, the undisputed queen of the court, the woman who redefined what it means to be a champion not just in tennis, but in life itself, has spoken. She broke her silence. And when Serena speaks, the entire world stops and listens. The words she chose were sharp, deliberate, and frankly, impossible to ignore. To insult her is to insult yourself. Let that sink in for a good long moment. That is not a throwaway tweet dashed off between breakfast and a school run. That is a calculated, laser-guided statement from a woman who has spent over 2 decades mastering the art of knowing exactly when to say something, how to say it, and, perhaps most powerfully, how to make it land in a way that absolutely no one can shake off. Since her evolution away from professional tennis, Serena has been notoriously selective about when she chooses to insert herself into the chaotic, swirling narrative of a sport she dominated longer and more completely than almost anyone in history. She does not speak lightly anymore. She does not wade into controversy for the fun of it.
I really believe in the law of attraction.
Yes.
So I believe what you put out, you invite that into your life.
You're speaking life into what's to come to you.
And I think you meet a lot of people too, is like, why me? Why not me?
So when the vultures started circling Coco Gauff at the Australian Open, picking apart her technique, analyzing her every grimace, questioning the very foundation of her mental game, Serena Williams didn't just break her silence. She shattered it with the kind of quiet, devastating precision that reminds everyone exactly why she is who she is. And today, on Chatterbox, we are diving absolutely deep into this extraordinary moment, because there is so much more going on beneath the surface than a simple celebrity defense. This is about legacy, about sisterhood, about the toxic machinery of public expectation, and about what it truly means to protect the future of a sport you love. Let's set the scene properly, because context is everything here. If you have been watching the Australian Open this year, you already have a sense of the energy in Melbourne. The heat down there is relentless. The courts are blazing fast, and the pressure on every single player who steps through those gates is the kind of thing that separates the genuinely elite from the very, very good. But nobody, and I really do mean nobody, has been carrying a heavier psychological burden through this tournament than Coco Gauff. Think about what this young woman is dealing with every single time she walks out onto that court. She is 20 years old. She is a US Open champion. She is widely regarded as the heir to the most iconic legacy in women's tennis. And every single match she plays not just against her opponent, but against the impossible standard that the media, the fans, and the global sports complex have constructed around her before she even had a chance to fully grow into her own identity as a player. This is important, because the story of Coco Gauff cannot be told without understanding the story of how the tennis world built her up and then handed her a crown she never asked for. When Coco burst onto the scene as a 15-year-old prodigy at Wimbledon in 2019, beating her idol Venus Williams in the first round, and making the whole sporting world's jaw drop collectively to the floor, the public absolutely lost its mind. And understandably so, because what she did was extraordinary, genuinely once-in-a-generation stuff. But the problem with extraordinary moments is that they come with extraordinary expectations attached. The media did not just celebrate what Coco accomplished. They immediately began projecting what she was supposed to become.
I think two things. I think as growing up, I think I just realized that, you know, the only expectations that matter are the ones you put on yourself. And then also I think just, you know, the more people say you can't do something, I'm a bit stubborn, so you kind of want to do it.
And what she was supposed to become, according to an endless parade of commentators, columnists, and social media self-appointed experts, was the next Serena Williams. Full stop. No pressure. Except, of course, all the pressure in the entire world. Here is where the toxicity begins to breed. Serena Williams did not become Serena Williams overnight. She became Serena Williams through 23 grueling Grand Slam victories, through setbacks and injuries and personal tragedies and public humiliations, through a career spanning more than 2 decades of constant reinvention and relentless determination. That is what the crown weighs. The ripple effect when that statement landed was immediate and electric. It was like a thunderclap that made everyone across the entire Australian Open media landscape freeze in their tracks. Commentators who had been casually ripping apart Coco's forehand mechanics on live television suddenly became very, very careful about their word choices. Sports journalists who had been drafting snarky hot takes about her coaching transition found themselves reconsidering before hitting publish. You do not want to be caught on the wrong side of a cultural moment, and you absolutely do not want to be caught on the wrong side of Serena Williams, who has proven herself perfectly capable of turning a public narrative on a dime with a single, perfectly crafted sentence. The conversation pivoted almost instantly from what exactly is wrong with Coco Gauff, a framing that was already deeply unfair and reductive, to a much more honest, much more uncomfortable question. Why are we as a society so instinctively addicted to tearing down young female athletes the moment they show any sign of human vulnerability? Serena did not just defend Coco. She used the defense to drag the entire toxic sports media culture into the spotlight and force it to look at itself.
Yes, I am on GLP-1s and I am going public. I am on GLP-1s and I'm not ashamed to say it and say it loud. I am on Roe and let me tell you why.
The broader landscape of women's tennis right now makes the timing of this controversy feel almost cinematic in its drama. We are genuinely living through a golden era of the sport, though you would not always know it from the way the coverage treats it. The depth of talent competing at the top of the women's game right now is jaw-dropping. Aryna Sabalenka is out there hitting absolute laser bombs from the baseline, playing tennis with a ferocity and self-belief that is truly something to behold. Iga Swiatek continues to be one of the most tactically sophisticated players of her generation, suffocating opponents with her relentless baseline game and an ability to raise her level in the biggest moments. And then you have the deeply compelling return storylines. Players like Naomi Osaka, who herself blew open one of the most important conversations in the history of professional sport when she prioritized her mental health over tournament participation and faced a tsunami of criticism for doing so, criticism that now looks unconscionably cruel in retrospect. These women are not just athletes. They are pioneers navigating a landscape that the generations before them never had to deal with. The 24/7 social media microscope, the global commentary apparatus, the parasocial relationship between public figures and an audience that increasingly feels entitled to access every fragment of their inner lives. This context matters enormously when you think about what Coco has been navigating in Melbourne. The transition she is going through right now, moving from teenage phenomenon to established adult champion, rebuilding aspects of her game under new coaching, managing the expectations of a fan base that has never fully given her permission to simply be a work in progress, is one of the most treacherous passages in professional tennis. The list of players who could not make it through this particular transition is long and genuinely sobering. Tennis history is littered with the careers of prodigies who peaked too early, who could not sustain the pressure of being exceptional before they were emotionally ready for what exceptional actually costs. But Coco's greatest weapon against this trajectory has always been her remarkable, almost unusual level of self-awareness. She has spoken openly and thoughtfully about the battle with imposter syndrome that all elite athletes face. She has talked candidly about the desperate, exhausting desire to please everyone around her, her family, her coaches, her fans, and how that desire can paradoxically become an obstacle to actually performing at her best. She has shown genuine vulnerability about the dark moments when the game stops feeling like the pure joy it once was and starts feeling like an obligation too heavy to carry. And she has done all of this while still competing at the highest level, still fighting for every single point, still refusing to let the pressure break her in the ways that it so easily could. Remember her US Open victory speech? The emotion on her face in that moment was one of the most real, most human things I have ever seen in at the crowd. She acknowledged the people who doubted her, and she said the ones who tried to pour water on her fire only ended up adding gas to it. That was a moment of pure, authentic defiance, a genuinely Serena-esque moment, and it sent a shockwave through the entire sport. But here is the thing about running on defiance as your primary fuel source. Eventually, it burns you from the inside out. You cannot spend your entire career converting hatred into motivation without paying an enormous psychological price. There is a broader lesson here that extends far beyond Australian Open tennis, far beyond Coco Gauff, and far beyond even the towering legacy of Serena Williams. It is a lesson about what we demand from people who are brave enough to pursue excellence in public. We expect perfection. We expect constant entertainment. We expect our athletes to absorb inhuman pressure with a smile and deliver transcendent performances on demand. And when they fail to do so, we feel personally let down, as though their imperfection is somehow a betrayal of the faith we invested in them. But they are human. They are people who bleed and ache and doubt themselves in the dark hours before a match. They make mistakes and have bad days and go through transitions that require time and space that the relentless tournament schedule simply does not provide. Coco Gauff is navigating one of the most treacherous stretches of a professional tennis career, and she is doing it under a level of scrutiny that would crush most people before they even laced up their shoes. But she is not most people. She has the talent. She has the work ethic. She has the self-awareness and the emotional intelligence and the competitive fire. And now, in what may turn out to be a genuinely pivotal moment in her career, she has the explicit, publicly stated, world-stopping endorsement and protection of the greatest tennis player who ever lived. The Queen has spoken. The court is her domain. And to insult Coco Gauff is to insult yourself. Now, I want to hear from all of you, and I genuinely mean that, because the comment section on this one is going to be absolutely incredible. Did Serena do the right thing by stepping in the way she did? Or do you think Coco needs to be allowed to navigate these battles on her own terms, in her own way? Is the criticism of Coco fair sports analysis, or is it the same old pattern we have seen play out against young black female athletes in this sport for decades? Drop your thoughts below because I am reading every single comment. I always do. And your perspectives on this are going to make for one of the best conversations we have had on this channel. If this video gave you something to think about, gave you some context you did not have before, or simply entertained you for a few minutes today, do me one massive favor. Hit that like button right now. It sounds like a small thing, but it genuinely makes an enormous difference to how this channel reaches people who need to hear these conversations. And if you have not already subscribed to Chatterbox, what are you waiting for? Smash that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and make sure you never miss a single drop of the tea we are serving up here. We are just getting started, and trust me, you do not want to be late to the conversation. Thank you so much for watching today, guys. Until next time, stay curious, stay passionate, and we will see you in the next one.